connection troubles this morning. I think some folks are having difficulties getting in. We'll start and folks will catch up as we go along. Good morning. My name is Joseph Garba. I'm the Deputy Borough President. We'll bring this June Borough Board to order. First order of business is the adoption of the June 19th Borough Board agenda, which was emailed to you. Do you have a motion?
Yes.
Second. Call the roll. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Second order of business is the adoption of the May 15th Borough Board minutes, which were emailed to you. Any corrections, suggestions? All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. So we'll start our meeting with the presentations. We have a couple of them. Our first presentation will be by Lori Ann Wardy, the Vice President of Business Development at New Star Inc., discussing the development and promotion of the .nyc domain name. Lori?
Yep. You want us to come up front? Is
Yeah,
that best?
Is business development a nonprofit or a for-profit or?
Is New Star?
Yeah.
New Star is actually a for-profit entity. We're contracting with the city of New York to roll out the .nyc domain. And so I guess Jeff will give you a little bit more of an intro on that.
So we're going to have a beautiful PowerPoint for you, but it is what it is. You guys now have a printout version out in front of you. We'll sort of walk through that. My name is Jeff Merritt. I'm a Senior Advisor to the Mayor. I broadly oversee tech and innovation. One of the things that is in that portfolio is .nyc. And I wanted to bring in Lori and also Anna Guzman sitting down over there that's also with New Star to give you guys a bit of a background, answer some questions about what this thing is. It can be a little confusing for folks to get their hands around initially. All right, all of a sudden there's going to be something on the web that the city is releasing called .nyc. What is this? Why is it useful? Why is the city of New York involved in this effort? And so I'll let Lori sort of lead you in sort of some background, some history on this, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. But I think that the sort of important thing that I would want to lead with here is that we're actually trying to do something historic here in New York City, which is for the first time really in the history of the web, we're creating a space online that is geographically defined and enforced so that, in this case, New Yorkers will have a digital space essentially that only belongs to them. What I mean by that is we'll get into sort of the details, but this would be a space on the web that only New Yorkers, folks who have a physical presence in New York, will be able to get a domain. And what I think is really significant about this is the web is a chaotic, sort of wild, wild west, right? I was having a conversation with my mom a couple weeks back, and she, wanted to get some photos scanned, and she was worried about sending them to this company on the web because she had no idea where that company was, right? And that the web can be a confusing place where it's hard for folks to understand what they can trust, what they can't trust. And so what I think we have the opportunity to do here is define a space that actually means something, that folks can trust what is in that space. They know that the entities there have to abide by the rules and laws of the city of New York. And also we can use this as a tool and a vehicle for community building and local economic development. So I'll let sort of Lori take it from there, and I'll be around. I basically have about 40 minutes or so we should have plenty of time for Q&A after.
Thank you. The internet, obviously, we've all heard of the internet, yes? And yes, it's been the wild, wild west for quite some time, but 25 years ago when the internet first got started, no one could have imagined then. Because if we had imagined then, we would have all bought domain names at that time and been, crazy millionaires. But since that time, what's happened is that the .com extension, which is where the internet really got its start, has become so crowded, so overwhelmingly packed, with over 100 million domain names registered by people and businesses and entities around the world, that it's really difficult to get a good name, and it's also really difficult for new and emerging businesses, nonprofits, entities to get a name that's meaningful. So you see little businesses all around the world starting up with all sorts of strange, long names, and companies starting with really weird sounding names. That's mostly because they can't get good names anymore. So the internet has evolved over the years. There have been other alternatives besides .com that are geographically based, but they're always ascribed to a country. So if you ever traveled abroad, you've probably seen in the UK, for example, it's .uk, or if you're in Greece, it's .gr. So every country has its own space, and then .com sort of is a catch-all for the rest. And then there's .org and .edu. You've seen things along those lines. Well, basically, ICANN, which is the global organization that sort of runs the internet, I like to think of it sort of like the UN of the internet. They have representation from all the different countries around the world. They basically oversee the policy of internet infrastructure. And over the past many years, people have been lobbying to ICANN to expand the internet system, to create more opportunities and more types of domain names so that there would be less false scarcity, so people wouldn't feel compelled to get to build their business or their nonprofit on a .com that didn't really meet their needs. Like, you know, instead of just being able to get Tony's Pizza, if your company was Tony's Pizza in New York, you'd have to get Tony's Pizza New York 11009 or something like that, and it's no longer viable for business and brand. So what ICANN did was they, for the first time in history, have expanded the permissions so that now over 1,300 new domain extensions will be added to the internet infrastructure, and we're starting to see those roll out right now. Among those, we'll see geographical distinctions like New York City. Some of the other major cities around the world have also applied. London, Paris, Berlin, I think a few other cities as well. But in addition to cities, you'll see .brands. So instead of, for example, Starbucks being Starbucks.com, it will become .Starbucks or .Nike, things along those lines, so that, you know, if, for example, Starbucks wanted to advertise its coffee on a billboard, it might say coffee.starbucks or tea.starbucks instead of starbucks.com / something. So this is sort of a new paradigm that's just starting to happen, and as Jeff said, the whole thing is historic, but the idea of a city having its own space on the internet is really historic and very exciting, because the needs of local businesses are unique. The needs of a city are unique. There's a special kind of feeling and pride that comes along with being a member of being a New Yorker, and the ability to have a .nyc really gives the city the ability to get our arms around its people, its businesses, its organizations, and sort of create a special space for them. So basically the idea was to help the internet remain adaptive, to be evolving with the times, and to help create more competition, more innovation online. So this is actually the largest expansion of the internet in history. And this is history in the making. So this is an exciting time for you guys, because you're all now part of it and helping to bring .nyc to life. So this isn't something, I know that I said ICANN just changed the rules last year, that's true, but New York City has been attempting to sort of open this up for many years. It started back in 2008. New York basically was pushing, it was really one of the innovators in this space, trying to get these rules from ICANN to change back in 2008. And in all of the city's digital roadmap since then, it's really been a feature. And so now it's finally coming to life. Newstar, which is the company I work for, was awarded the contract to manage .nyc through a competitive procurement process. And Newstar is a publicly traded company. It's basically focused on information data and analytics, but it also is one of the most well-known domain registry companies in the world. Oh, okay.
We gotta go now.
All right, thank you. So we manage the .us domain registry, the .biz domain registry, and the .co domain registry, as well as 350 of the new applications that are about to start coming online now. So the agreement with the City of New York came into being with ICANN in January of 2014, and now we're very knee-deep in the rollout of this domain name. One of the most interesting things about the .nyc namespace, and it's something that distinguishes it from all of the other cities that have applied, is that, and to the city's credit, that New York has created what's called a nexus policy. And what a nexus policy means is that in order to register a .nyc domain and build a presence online using that domain, you must be a New York resident as your primary physical address, your organization, or as an individual or your organization. Other cities will allow you to buy their domain. You can buy a .london domain, for example, even if you live in New York. And you can, build a website or an organization site even if you live in any other country. So it takes some of the legitimacy away, because you can just be an opportunist trying to sort of seem like you're in London or in Paris, but you're not. So New York has really been firm about having this nexus policy to make sure that people are New Yorkers, true blue New Yorkers, and only New Yorkers get the benefit of being a part of this space. There will be a variety of safeguards that the city is putting in place to ensure that the nexus policy is enforced. There will be spot checks, a validation program. We'll also be doing all sorts of things to make sure that the things that are built on the .nyc domain name and extension are safe. So we'll be monitoring for malicious activity, any kinds of scams or things that you see on the sort of broader .com, phishing, farming, all these things that people are afraid of about sharing credit cards for banking and all of that. They'll always be monitored with the highest levels of security. And then there's dispute resolution policies in case, for example, somebody registers, McDonald's.nyc and it's just some guy, wanting to have McDonald's. There'll be easy ways for a brand or an organization with a trademark to, get their name out. So all of this is sort of in compliance with ICANN's best practices, and New York has basically taken the highest level of care to make sure that everything is best practice compliant. So now let's just get into a little bit about, does anybody have any questions about any of this at all?
Yeah, so who in the city government is going to enforce this? Like all of the issues related to, when you mentioned McDonald's .nyc, like who's going to, which body?
Well, that actually isn't, that's actually sort of not the city itself. That goes to the ICANN level.
Okay.
ICANN is sort of the internet infrastructure level, and ICANN has very rigorous policies that have been in place for 25, well, not in 25, but many years, that they've evolved over 25 years since the dawn of the internet. So ICANN.
And
the short answer,
I understand that, but who from the city? Like, are
yeah,
you?
no,
are you
so
there?
the short answer is this is why the city took the approach to have a vendor do this.
Okay.
So there's a revenue sharing agreement with Newstar where the city takes part of the revenue and Newstar takes the rest of it. And the strategy here was recognizing that if the city was to sort of do all of that on our own, we'd have to build up a big bureaucracy. And we didn't want this to cost taxpayer dollars. We wanted this to be an asset. And so from the beginning, the city hasn't invested a single penny in .nyc. All of the registration costs were borne by Newstar, and going forward, this will only generate revenue for the city. So that sort of burden of responsibility falls upon Newstar and is built into its contractual arrangement with the city.
But who in the city are you? I mean, other
So
than
the
mayor?
contract is technically with DeWitt Department of
Do it.
Information
Okay. That's what I
Technology.
wanted.
Yep.
Thank you.
But it's definitely in terms of its management, managing it from City Hall, given that it overlaps with a lot of initiatives that the city does. Obviously, the law department is closely involved because there's a lot of legal issues, the Office of Media and Entertainment as well.
Yeah, hi. So it doesn't, NYC would not differentiate between a government agency or a business or just an individual or anything else that we have
So
now.
the city government will
educational.
The city government will continue to use nyc.gov
Right.
to differentiate that it is a government entity.
Right.
.nyc will be open to anyone with a physical presence in New York, whether they be a nonprofit, an educational institution, a business, etc.
Or an individual.
similar to sort of .com or anything like that. The big difference being that it's geographically defined. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the .ed, EDC, EDU, and the organizations, when you get something, you kind of know what you're getting, as opposed to getting a commercial one. You know, it has a different read status for people.
Of course, yeah. I mean, so the top level domains that are out there that have that, I think the valid significance are definitely .gov, given that the federal government manages that, .edu, you know, and really then this becomes sort of, I think, the third batch of that, something that's geographically defined and enforced.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question. So if you are a startup within a bigger space, and you just have a desk at a location, that means you have an address in New York City, and then if you move from one place to another place. So I see this going, there'll be a .Manhattan, a .Brooklyn, a you know, at a certain point, once you're done with the .NYCs, you're gonna fine tune it even more into the 5 boroughs.
I mean, you know, I can't speak to the future because it's not that easy. It's a very complicated process to get a dot something. It takes many years and a lot of resources. So there would need to be a sponsor of that. So the borough would have to, some entity would need to sponsor it, and it would need to sort of pass an ICANN's muster, which is not an easy thing to do. But to your point, you know, people are getting more specific about wanting to, you know, showcase their New York City pride. You never know. Maybe that might happen in the future, but it's probably a long shot for now. It would happen many years on.
This effort's about almost 15 years in the making in terms of from the sort of first effort at a Queens Community Board, actually, where they sort of started to discuss this idea of a New York City physical presence, and sort of that led up to eventually an application to this international body called ICANN that created then .nyc. We really don't know what the internet will hold 10, 15, 20 years from now. At this point in time, New York City is the only and it's the first city in the U.S. to launch a top-level domain like this. It's the first sort of entity in the world to have a strong, enforceable sort of nexus policy like this. So we think it's something unique. It's something that we want to sort of build from.
Yes, I have 2 questions. First, what's the difference between land rush and general availability?
Yeah, so let's go now quickly into sort of the nuts and bolts of this.
So to your question about sort of why, you know, why we, whether or not it's a good thing for this to be open to all New Yorkers, I think the idea here is that no, we're going to get to yours. It comes.
Get a second part.
It's going to lead right into your question.
Yeah, I want to go through the whole thing and get my question. So my question is, what's the difference between the land rush and general availability? The second question is, where do we, you know, is there an address where you go and apply for the name?
There is an address, and the address is at the end of the very end of the presentation. So I'll share. It's on the slide. You can see it. It's nick.nyc. And that will actually, we'll be having another address for marketing purposes, which you guys will be able to share with your communities. It hasn't launched yet, but that will be coming out soon. But basically, there are different. The domain is going to launch in phases. So it's not going. We're not going to just sort of launch it one day. It's basically. I guess we can skip to the slide, with the launch timeline, and then I'll just go back. So basically, there's basically a gradual offering of the domain, and the purpose of that is to make sure that different interests are protected, and that organizations, charities, nonprofits, businesses, brands with trademarks can protect their domain names in a measured way, and that the city can allocate those names in a measured way. So basically, Sunrise is the first phase of the launch. And what Sunrise is an opportunity for anyone with a registered trademark, a nationally registered trademark, to protect their business or brand or trade name by registering it early, and we make that available to them. There's basically, as long as you have a physical address in the city and a nationally registered trademark, you have the opportunity to get your name. This Sunrise process launched back in May, and actually tomorrow is the last day for registration for the Sunrise phase. After that, there's a phase called the city government affiliated phase, and that's from June 25th through July 31st. And actually, I'll let just Jeff say a few words about it.
Okay, so, one of the differences with this domain and other domains is this domain is actually controlled by the city of New York. If you look at, for example, Boston, what we'll be launching, it's actually controlled by the Boston Globe. And so what the city of New York wanted to do here is we wanted to make sure that, recognizing there was sort of this vast online real estate out there, all of these sort of infinite possibilities of names, we wanted to make sure that first we went in and we grabbed a bunch of names that we thought would have maximum public benefit. And there were a couple ways that, there's two things. One is having maximal public benefit, and one is protecting sort of assets against misuse. And so the city went through sort of a big list of domains, and one of the first things that we did is we pulled out names that we felt could be easily confused with city government or official city entities. And part of the reason here is that we really wanted to protect what is the city of New York and differentiating that capital C for the city, meaning sort of the official city, from residents of the city. And so we made it sort of from the get-go that individuals will not be able to purchase things like firedepartment.nyc, things like, in your guys' case, councildistrict5.nyc or communityboard1.nyc. And so one of the first things was that we pulled those items off the market so that they wouldn't be available for individuals to take. Obviously, it's an imperfect science there because in some ways the beauty or the bad part about the web is that you can always amend different things, right? You can always say, whether or not, if we're talking about community boards, there's infinite ways that we can abbreviate either boroughs or community or board and put additional characters in there. But we wanted to make sure that first we took off some names that could be easily confused with city entities. In addition, we pulled off neighborhood names, parks, iconic locations. And the reason that we did that is that we realized that there was an opportunity here, and this goes to your point about boroughs and neighborhoods, that one of the greatest sort of assets to the city is its neighborhoods. That's what individuals connect with. And that we wanted to make sure that things like Manhattan.nyc or Chelsea.nyc, that the city had the ability to mobilize those to become community hubs. And so what we're in the process of doing right now, and this is a sort of open dialogue that we definitely are trying to talk to as many stakeholders as possible about, is to put together a application process and a licensing program where not-for-profit organizations and business groups would be able to apply for a neighborhood name, for example, have an independent body which is evaluating those applications and creating community hubs. Because we want to make sure that this space is an inclusive space, that if there is a Chelsea.nyc, we don't want that to go just to the top bidder. We want that to go to a community organization that can really leverage that name and use it as a way to pull together small businesses, organizations. Some different ways that can happen are things like data feeds that are pulling together information on events. It can be directories, it can be event calendars, community resources, discussion forums. I think the sky's the limit here, and what we really want to do as a city is make sure that we're leveraging the opportunity there with those names, encouraging community organizations to really benefit from that. If you have a good domain and you're going to get lots of web traffic there, looking at opportunities, for example, if you have, I'll just stick with that model of Chelsea.nyc, if you have the ability to create what are called third level or subdomains, where you could, for example, have, you could walk down the street, talk to businesses, enable them to get joespizza.chelsea.nyc, enable somebody to get, sallysflorist.chelsea.nyc, so that we're actually using these neighborhood hubs as a way to bring more people, more businesses, more organizations online over time. So that's a process that's ongoing as it relates to folks here. As Lorianne mentioned, there is a city-affiliated phase that happens for the next month where we will be able to begin registering names in advance of the general public. What that means is really starting a week from now, roughly, if a community board wanted to get manhattancb1.nyc, we're able to do that. I do want to mention that even though there is a city-affiliated window here of a month, if you don't get it during that month, it doesn't mean you can't get it later on. It's just the way that the process works here, where it's phase by phase. We have a window here where we can activate city sites. Then you move to this program called Land Rush and General Availability. We'll be able to access and activate sites again during general availability, but there's a window where we can't. So there's not a real sense of urgency here. What we will be doing, though, in sort of the weeks ahead is having individual meetings with more and more government-affiliated entities, whether it be the actual government agencies or cultural institutions, bids, etc., sort of letting them know that, yes, the city has reserved a block of names that we think might be of interest to you, and we can activate them. You'll note here I put Will as the contact person here for this group. I think that's easiest. If there are names that you're interested, Will can help you sort of think about what the options are to secure those. With regards to community boards, we are encouraging you to continue to keep your nyc.gov sites if you have them. The reason is that enables folks to know that they are on a legitimate government site and that it's not someone pretending to be a community board, for example. And so in the case of .nycs, what we'll be doing for a number of city agencies, and I think makes sense for community boards as well, if you like the name, if you like Manhattan CB1.nyc because it's better for marketing purposes, etc., we can set up a redirect so that when somebody types that in, they end up on your current site.
Can you actually reserve both? Because there's like a fraudulent website already out there.
Yeah, so we've already reserved a broad list of names that sound similar to community boards. So those are already blocked off and no one will be able to purchase those. It's not to say that we had every combination, but if there are ones that you're concerned about, that's the kind of thing that definitely you should flag for Will and I. And I should note that Will is also on the Community Advisory Board of .nyc, so he's part of the team that sort of meets together every month and thinks together how we can more effectively utilize this tool. Yeah.
So are you saying right now all of the community boards already in the system of community board 10, that's already in the system?
Yeah, right now.
We have to.
So right now we have blocked. So I think the easiest way to think of this. Right now we've blocked names like Manhattan CB1, Manhattan CB2, etc. We've also blocked Community Board 1, Community Board 2, MN Community Board 1, 2, a number of sort of variations on what you would probably guess would be a name for a community board. So those are blocked, they're not activated. If we want to move them into activated so that actually somebody can type that in on the web and end up at your site, that's sort of the next step that has to happen. And that'll be sort of a process that will help work with you on to see does it make sense for you to do a redirect on your site, or if you don't have a site currently, is this a site, would it make sense for you to do a .nyc or an nyc.gov? There's sort of pros and cons to each.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
The sunrise here, could you explain, how have you managed this? Because it's not effective as of tomorrow. Have you, businesses, how did you get the businesses to register? How is this advertised? What did you do?
So that's a great question. So basically, again, because this is something that's, NYC is not the only sort of domain launching now. There are several hundred of different brands, and a lot of it comes through the ICANN community and working with the trademark attorneys, because it's really the in-house counsel of corporations and anyone with and nonprofits that have nationally registered trademarks. So we basically went to all the major trademark shows, worked with trademark lawyers and big brand lawyers did tons of mailings, outreach to brand owners, and so it's very well known in the sort of circles of people who manage trademarks. And that's basically who is protected by Sunrise, trademark owners. So that phase has been, there's sort of a very ingrained process through the ICANN protocol, and we worked in tandem with that.
So it's like the Starbucks, that Starbucks ready to launch now, or?
Starbucks itself, I can't speak.
Not Starbucks itself,
Yeah,
that
but
genre.
some of the brands are, I don't know if it's Starbucks in particular that's ready to launch, but some big brands are in the final phases of getting ready to launch.
And a lot of those big brands are most likely going to block their names more than anything. What they don't want to do is to get into a legal battle where they have to fight to get a name back. The key point here on Nexus is that if a brand wants to have a site, they have to actually have a physical operating location in New York. You're not going to see a lot of those big, giant brands be using .nyc as their main site. You'll have some that are New York City-based companies doing that, but I think you could see things like a Google use something like google.nyc and have that be the page for their New York City office.
So, back to my question. What is the difference between land rush and general availability?
Okay, so we are that's the perfect segue. So we've gone through now Sunrise and City affiliated, and now the next phase is land rush. So as Jeff was saying, if you don't get your name for some reason during City affiliated phase, or if somebody, to your question, didn't get their name during Sunrise, that doesn't mean they can't get their name. It just means they didn't get it at that early phase. So land rush is sort of another early phase before the domain opens to the whole public. And what it is it gives individuals, businesses, organizations, and entities that meet the Nexus requirements the opportunity to register their domain name early, before general public gets access, for a small premium fee. It's an extra, I believe, $30 application fee one time to get their name early. And so basically between August 4th and October 3rd, any individual entity or nonprofit, trademark brand, anything that wants a name that's available can apply during that phase. On nic.nyc, which is the URL at the end of this presentation, will be a list of different domain registrars where you can buy the name. It works just the way it works when you buy a regular domain name. So if you're going to buy a .com or a .net or .org, you go to an online registrar, they're called. So companies like GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Register.com, things of that nature, places that sell domain names. Many of these entities will be selling .nyc domain names and will be set up to open this up for land rush. And during that phase is when you can secure the names you want. So if there are any particular names that you want that are not on the city affiliated list, or that your constituents in your communities want, or your friends and family want, and you're sharing this information with them, land rush is the time to get it early and to make sure you can secure it so that when it opens. The reason why it's a good idea to secure it early is because when it opens in general availability, which is on October 8th, that basically means anyone that meets the Nexus requirement can get it for the regular registration fee. And once somebody registers a name, as long as there's no other trademark for that name, it's now theirs. So you want to get it first. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to get it back. So basically, it's just an opportunity for an early registration so that you don't risk somebody else registering a name you might want. So for example, just for vanity purposes, you might want to apply for your first name, right? There's probably lots of other people in the city of New York with your same first name. So if you wanted to do that, land rush would be the time to apply for it. And the thing to know about land rush is if there are more than one application for the same name, then it would go to an auction. So if there are two people applying for Lisa.nyc, then those two people would go to an auction and the highest bidder. So one might bid $100, one might bid $150. Whoever bids $150 would get the name allocated.
But are you suggesting that a group of people is going to be aware during land rush and other people will be aware? I mean, I still don't understand. If I am nobody, at the time at August 4th, I will be able to go and register on NYC, yes?
You mean during land rush?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's no different from general availability?
Well, it's a different price.
And it's a window. right? There's a window where there's sort of an open market where folks can express interest in a website domain. If at the end of that window you are the only one that expressed interest in that domain, then you would get it. If there are multiple people that express interest
Oh,
in
so
that.
you are not getting the domain, what you are doing is entering a queue during land
That's
rush.
exactly right.
Oh, that's the difference.
That's exactly.
And then
Thank
in general
you.
availability, the first person to register a domain
Got
that
it.
hasn't been claimed is
Right.
automatic.
First
And-
come, first served.
Yeah, and I think, so the key thing here is that we are now sort of entering into a phase where .nyc goes from just being this broad concept that exists, that there is this entity, this online place that will exist, to actually something real, where folks will begin registering domains. And so part of what Newstar will be doing over the sort of months ahead is that they're rolling out a very large marketing campaign. You're going to start seeing, you're going to be in a taxi, you're going to see video, a taxi video about .nyc. You're going to see on the sides of
Bus
shelters and things, information about .nyc. You're going to see the launch of a big marketing campaign to raise awareness about this. What we need to make sure happens is that this also, that we actually activate our community organizations, our community leaders, to help reach folks who, might not be that familiar with the internet, might not sort of initially grasp why it's helpful for them to get a .nyc. We have to make sure that we do address sort of the broad digital divide that exists in this city, which is that there are some folks who will hear about .nyc, who will get very excited, will immediately go onto a website, learn about it, and start to reserve names either for a current business or a business perhaps that they want to start. And what we need to make sure is that we're doing effective outreach to our small businesses, many of whom may not be online, and letting them know that here's an opportunity for you actually to get in from day one and actually have a good name, because I think that's the difficult things for folks that are coming online right now in the sort of .com era, is that there's a feeling, well, I could get a website, but it's not actually the website that I would want to use for marketing purposes. It's like, Laura said, it's like Joe's Pizza, New York,
Zip code
1009 or something
Yeah.
like that. It's not something you'd actually want to use. Here's an opportunity if a business isn't online. It's a good sort of window here that we have to reach out to small businesses, organizations, and say, look, if you're going to go online, here's a good time to do that. And just so you guys know, one of the things that we'll be doing with city agencies as well is looking and saying, how can we as a city use this as an opportunity to help small businesses and organizations come online, through leveraging programs at Small Business Services, by leveraging our tech community to put more sort of simple, easy to use tools online that people can use to set up a website. There's an opportunity here, but it is a window, and it's a window that we really will need all of our community boards, our chambers of commerce, our bids to help us in sort of making sure that we do that outreach.
That's where you guys come in.
I have a couple questions down here.
So just one question and one comment. Is the website only going to be in English?
I think we are going, actually, we're talking about a Spanish version, but I'm not sure what the plans are. Do you know what the plans are?
Right now, the information site has sort of a Google Translate, so it have, the sort of rough translation into lots of different languages. I think one of the things that will be interesting about New York, and this is where the registrars come in, right? So you've got Newstar, who's a registry, right? They're the ones sort of organizing the show, and then they have all of these companies who are actually doing the sales. There's, for example, a Spanish registrar. It'll be interesting to see, do they do marketing materials in Spanish to specifically target that community, right? Because you're using sort of market advantage here in a way where the registrars who can do effective outreach on their own and reach different communities potentially have the ability to generate revenue. So it's something.
So, wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Can I get, so I just say the Department of Education website, I think is one of the websites that does language the best. So I would, I think I would encourage you guys to look at that, because just CV3 representing Chinatown, Lower East Side, we try to do everything in 3 languages, and
Yeah.
so I think that an opportunity, if you were to go this route, would be, unlike on .gov where everything's in English, we've got the opportunity on this website to maybe do a trilingual piece. And then just as someone who else runs a small nonprofit, I guess my initial reaction is that this is kind of another fee and another process in which I'll have to call my IT person and be like, oh, we're going to have to do this and pay more for this and think about how is this going to complement or add or not add. So I think there's an additional cost factor, especially for your small businesses, which it'd be interesting kind of what that reaction is.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing that we're trying to get out is here's an opportunity. We're not saying every business should necessarily switch to .nyc. I mean, if you have a great .com site, you're spending money marketing, people know that .com site, there's not necessarily a reason that you have to do this. That said, if you're maybe don't have a great site or you haven't yet sort of created an online presence, I think it's a good opportunity. We want to make sure that folks are aware of that, partly because we would prefer that the mom and pop shop that operates Sunset Park Books is able to get Sunset Park Books before just someone else who thinks that's a good name goes in and grabs that.
We got time for a couple more questions. I had you next.
But not necessarily, right? Because during this land rush process, they have to enter a queue, and then if somebody outbids them, they might not get it.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean it's
and
a tricky.
What's the profit sharing between like you, the city, and then GoDaddy? Because
Sure.
GoDaddy, there are certain domains that GoDaddy has that they charge a lot for, right? So
Of course. So
what's this?
yeah, the way it works is that there's a set of wholesale prices that are established. Now the interesting thing about wholesale, this is what sort of this city established and said this would be the cost that a registrar, for example, would have to pay initially to Newstar in the city, and the split is what, 30% for?
You mean between the registrar
between Newstar and
60-40?
Yeah, 60-40 between Newstar and the city of the sort of $20 here. Now what's interesting here is when you put this actually into the marketplace, that $20 doesn't actually necessarily translate to what you pay through a GoDaddy. It can either be more or less. So for example, on City Affiliated, the city did a bidding process where we had registrars go in and put forward prices. The city's actually looks like right now, we haven't finalized things, but it looks like we're going to pay $17.50 per a domain. What that means is the company is actually subsidizing the cost. They're charging us less than what the wholesale value is because they think by getting us in the door that we might purchase more services later on. And that's sort of what exists in the marketplace when registrars compete, is you might have .nyc's sites that are out that are selling for $5, $10, depending on sort of the different companies' strategies to sort of bring folks on board.
But
so
you could have like localcoffeeshop.nyc or coffeeshop.nyc, and you could have a small business that wants that name, and they could be paying like $400, $500 for that name if there's a large queue.
You mean
right?
during the land rush?
Yeah, like afterwards.
Yeah, that's possible. It's possible.
It's
it would be unlikely for something like, you said Sunrise Books. That's a very idiosyncratic name that probably not a lot of people are going to compete for unless you're Sunrise Books, right? But if you're applying for, say...
Your example of Joe's Pizza, how many Joe's Pizzas are there in New York?
Or Ray's Pizza.
Ray's.
Yeah.
Ray's.
Yeah. So that is possible.
That is possible. Like if Ray's Pizza, I would imagine there would probably be.
Is there a cap?
I've got time. We've got time for two very quick questions. I had you next and George finally. Sorry.
Who's you?
This gentleman.
I see my seat.
Most of my questions have been answered, actually.
Okay, great. I had George next.
I have a comment, so I would like to be.
I have a comment here.
I do.
Yeah.
I wanna second. Sorry. I want to second what Gigi said. And based on what you also mentioned, at least in our area, we do need this to be. It's not whether they should or have to do this. It is we have very small businesses that are going under, specifically after Sandy. They were going under before, and now they're going under even more so after Sandy. So it's not whether this is something that they don't have to do because, you know, it's a perk. Actually, they do. If they are going to survive, if our economic development is going to go anywhere in our district, it does have to be done that way. And it's a little bit worrisome to me that you're doing Google Docs translation, because my experience of that is that you don't understand anything, even in Spanish.
Well, yeah, and I would just say, right, we haven't launched any marketing campaigns yet because this isn't actually public yet. That's why the website is this weird thing, nick.nyc. Definitely, we are developing the marketing materials now. And so that's the exact type of, you know, the more that we understand what is helpful when you're doing community outreach, is it actual, you know, small print materials, is it an online website, what actually helps with community outreach? There's a team that actually is developing these things right now, so we can definitely make sure that we're putting together materials that enable you to do the effective outreach.
Back to that team.
So,
to me.
well, and I think on the marketing side too, I mean, this information's in that printout, which is a New Star team. You know, I think it's a balancing act here in terms of like this. You know, you want to make sure on this team, if you're contacting them, that you're telling them sort of specific details about what's helpful. If you have questions about sort of getting a domain and that kind of thing, I think Will's the right person. But you should definitely feel free to sort of put forward ideas that you have. Because we are in the sort of part of that outreach preparation right now.
All right, final question here. George.
Just quickly, just quickly. So I just want to know, what is the city of New York going to do with regards with the proceeds that you receive from this company when they generate all the income that they do? That's one. Secondly, I'm interested to know, how can you assure that trademark is actually official, or even though the city of New York or your company will, I guess, define who's the actual company, will the business owners receive actual legal documents stating that this is their trademark? Because you can go online, and while you can determine that if this gentleman actually has a lawyer and it's actually trademarked, then I can sue. So I want to know, how do you cover that? And secondly, how do you plan on how much money, or how do you plan on marketing this website to ensure that it gets the publicity that is necessary?
I can do the trademark clearinghouse and the marketing, and you can do the revenue. So there is something called, and this is a mandate from ICANN as well, the trademark clearinghouse, and you can find it at trademark-clearinghouse.org or .com. Actually, I think it's .com. Trademark-clearinghouse.com. Basically, it's a very, very rigorous process. It was started with, I think IBM and Deloitte are behind it, and every single trademark application is audited to make sure there's an actual trademark. You can't just say you have a trademark. They're going to check it with the trademark registry. You can say you have a trademark in any country, as long as you are in New York, you also have a New York City residence, but they will check it with the trademark registry of every different registrar that manages trademarks. So that process is definitely ironclad, and it's being managed at the ICANN level. In terms of marketing, we met with Jeff just 2 days ago and went over a 130 or 20-page marketing plan. We've got a whole variety of plans, from online marketing to working with the city on events and stunts, and meeting with the bids, and meeting with the chambers, and meeting with groups like you guys, and having, you know, one-off meetings wherever possible, creating materials. And actually, one of the things we'd like to ask of you guys is to really help us with this marketing, and we're doing the same with bids and chambers, by reaching out to your own communities. And part of what we'll do to help that process is provide materials for you to do that, and we'll work with Will to make sure you get a handful of materials, fact sheets, PowerPoint slides, content if you wanted to share inside of a newsletter that you could utilize with your own communities. And if there are, like, as Jeff was saying, if there are other things that you would like to see, please let us know, and we'll work hard to make sure that we can create materials that are meaningful for you to share with your communities. So that's what we're doing on the marketing side. And there was one last part of the question.
Yeah, and the question on revenue, it goes in the general fund. Unfortunately, I mean, you may know that there's no way to actually earmark any of these funds to go to particular purposes. They go into the general fund and then sort of as part of the budget process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very important topic. Thanks for coming in. If you have any further questions, you have their contact information here. You can email them or email Will or myself, and we can try to get you quick answers.
Sorry. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
For the time.
Our next presentation will be on the Veterans Recycling Program by Deborah Menick, Director of the Recycling United War Veterans Council. Hi.
Thank you.
Hey, Vince, I love you for
Can you say a couple words?
What's that?
Do you want to just
Oh, I think I'm very well. So far, so good.
Hi.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
Vince Pagano, Jesse.
Do you want to say a couple words before we?
Let me get started. I'll close it up.
Close out? Okay, all right.
I'll close it.
Aldrin, you want to take over?
Can I
Good morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Deborah Menick. I am the director of the recycling program for the United War Veterans Council in the Greater New York area. I will be speaking about the recycling program and then handing it over to Mario Figueroa, who runs the Veteran Service Organization part of United War Veterans Council. Wrapping it up will be Vince McGowan, who is the founding president, who some of you know, if not all of you know, for United War Veterans Council. The packets that you have in front of you are a quick and concise way for you to see what we do within your community. The recycling program basically is a very simple program. We collect all clothing and household goods in the areas. We come to the doorsteps of the residential buildings, pick it up, and we leave a tax receipt. All the proceeds then go to veteran service programs within the local communities and the greater New York area. So what does that mean? That means that where you live, you can call an 888 number or log on to the website and see what day we're going to be in your neighborhood and leave items with your doorman or on your doorstep, and we will swing by and pick it up. It's as simple as that. We are running over 25 trucks now. We are in the city every day. We are moving around 100 tons away from landfill and diverting it from incinerators into a reuse and repurpose program. So what does that mean? What does reuse versus recycling mean? You know, you throw recycling in a bin and it goes somewhere and you hope that it's all for good. We are taking those exact same items that you cherish in your closet or your cabinet or your bike bin or what have you, keeping that item whole, not really expending a lot more energy out of the universe, and repurposing it, selling it in a thrift store, and letting all the proceeds go to the veterans. So we're really working on saving the environment that the veterans have served to protect.
Does this include electronics?
Yes. So in here you will see that there are over 250,000 veterans currently registered in the boroughs. This is through the VA, so chances are we're thinking it's about 2/3 more than that. The proceeds go to local communities, which Mario will talk about how we're expanding all of our services and programs. But we're basically a boots on the ground organization that has organically been growing this for about 8 years now. So it's taken us 8 years to ramp up. We've been in Manhattan and Staten Island. We've gotten into parts of Queens. We're aggressively pursuing being in Brooklyn through Grow New York's green markets. So you'll see us at different area markets to try and help get the word out as well. Because we are a non-for-profit, there's not a lot of marketing that takes place. You know, we're looking for the community to be aware of us and know that we're there. We take everything.
So, hi Deborah, so you're located at 342 Broadway?
Yes, we
That
are.
means you're located in Community Board 1. So
We
you
are.
definitely have to come to one of our community.
We would
board
love to.
meetings.
I would love to, yes.
So, thank you.
And we take everything, is basically everything except for mattresses and really large, big pieces of furniture. So, you know, moving furniture out of New York is another issue, but Manhattan size coffee tables, you know, love seats, even ellipticals we will take out of the buildings and then keep them whole and repurpose them and reuse them. So we're trying to be as efficient on our external resources as possible and get them into all the, we have about 12 thrift stores now. Now when I say thrift stores, I'm not talking about New York size thrift stores. I am talking about 30,000 square foot buildings that are, like if you would go into a Kmart or a Target or a Nordstrom's, you wouldn't even really realize you were in a thrift store. So over the many years, our partners have learned that to say it's a thrift store, to leave it dark and dingy and dusty with a little handwritten tag may not be the best way to get the best amount of proceeds out of the program. So you walk into these stores and you feel like you're not shopping at a thrift store. You feel like you are going into the men's shirt section, which also has the men's shoes right there, the baby aisle, the rugs, the household goods are all marketed and merchandised. They're located. There's one in the Bronx. We're building out one in Queens. There's a couple right over the river in Jersey. All the addresses where you can also drop off donations are on the website under, you know, drop off and pick up.
Because she wants one of your ellipticals.
I do.
We don't deliver, we only pick
Only
up.
pick up.
That's a deterrent right there.
We do pick up electronics. In all honesty, we don't make a lot of money off of electronics because we do break those down. There are certain rules that apply to electronics recycling. So it's more of a, because we pick up everything, we will take the electronics so it stays out of the landfills. And then we do break it down and containerize it and give it to approved electronics recyclers.
You have a lot of competition with those big boxes coming up through New York. I don't know.
I
don't understand.
For the last
where
8
they're
years,
coming from
I
and
have had the conversation about bins. We do not feel that bins are the best way to go in Manhattan, or even in the boroughs.
Are those bins legal that I see now?
Not
all
always.
over?
No.
Okay, because they're
Not always.
obtrusive and
They're not always.
And no one can regulate
just
what.
By the time you get to those,
That's another
pick up those
story.
bins.
It's the Department of Sanitation
It's the Department of
issue. You
Sanitation
don't want
that-
to
Okay, yeah, okay.
We don't, bins for more than one reason, but mainly because we like to keep the item fresh. You know, we'll come pick it up and within 48 hours, it's in a store, and we rotate the stuff in the stores within a week. So that item that is in your, maybe your dry cleaning bag or something that you bought that you always thought you were going to wear, but is always in the back of your closet, still has the tag on it, that guy, it gets onto the floor within a week. Okay, so many of the calls that we get are, you know, my father was a veteran, I want to give to the veterans. I am cleaning out my floor, you know, I have a great relationship with all the building management organizations, and they're like, I'm cleaning out a floor, this is really good stuff, perfect, thank you very much. Yes, there are items that once you get into that cleansing mode, you throw in the bag and it's not really saleable to the first market. So yes, we do sell to secondary markets. Last resort, we break it down into a fiber or a rag. That's not the business we're in.
So do you wash these items, like specifically the clothing that comes from?
Not necessarily. I mean, no, we do every now and then have to do a complete detox of the building we don't take mattresses in general, but sometimes things happen. But we follow the resale rules with the government mandates. So you don't.
So the government says you don't have to necessarily wash the clothes, but do you advise the people that buy the products to please, you know, wash or
It's truly up to you. I mean, when you buy brand new sheets in a container, I would assume you would wash them before you put them on your bed, but people, it's, you know, if you buy a new shirt, you iron it and you throw it on, or you only iron part of it and not necessarily the sleeve because you're going to wear it. So that's up to you, and that's what the government, you know, that's up to the care label regulations.
I just want to add to that, if you don't mind. Those bins in our community district, they're popping up all over the place, and we're networking with the Department of Sanitation to have them removed because they're actually illegal.
That's correct.
They're independently owned, and they're taking the clothing and selling them.
This street
wherever
pilfering
to
is a
make
real
profit, but
problem
it's
for
not
us.
real.
It's a competition, it's a, you know, it's a rag business that goes in there, and it's unfortunate illegal competition for us, yes. Keeping in mind now, residents like this program for more than one reason. They'll give because they want to see the proceeds go to the veterans. They'll give because they want to recycle. They'll give because they want a tax receipt. And in Manhattan, they'll also give because we come take it away. So there's a variety of points that touch the residents of the city. Sometimes it's, you know, the flood right before April 15th is there, the flood for spring cleaning, and when everybody, you know, comes back in the fall and wants to clean out their closet and take those items out there. You know, mainly we do clothing, but yes, household goods, whether it is, you know, dishes or, you know, a chair, picture frames, lights. We basically take anything other than mattresses and large pieces of furniture. And it's as simple as logging on, and chances are we will be in your neighborhood within a week.
Large furniture is more than 5 feet, more than 10 feet.
But generally, what one strong man can carry. What one strong man can carry.
One person. Okay.
I mean, these are two-man trucks that drive around that are GPS located, so we know exactly where they're going. You know, one of our biggest challenges, honestly, is when we have the two-man trucks that are these sprinters that we've developed over the years, you know, that can move around the city as fast as possible. But we do lose a lot of proceeds because of tickets, you know. So, you know, one of our missions has been, and, you know, I've been beating the horse on, how do we get these standing parking issues, because we don't park. We have two guys in this little truck. They run in and they run out. That we hit 25 to 40 stops a day. So 25 to 40 stops a day, we're not parking. You know, the mission is to fill that truck, drop it off, and fill it again. And that's what our drivers are skilled at doing. You know, it's a white glove kind of pickup service, but we need to maneuver around the city streets.
This might be a really dumb question, but we've been dealing a lot with street fairs in our community board. Have you ever had a presence, like a booth or something, where perhaps instead of people, you know, you scheduling pickups, having
So
people on a weekend actually go?
Markets, to answer the question, yes. Yes, we are. We are working with Borough, New York. We have about a little under a dozen locations in the outer boroughs, and also one up on 92nd Street. And slowly working our way into having a better relationship with Grow and Green Market. So we've
But
started
even with the weekend street fairs where there are people who are, because I feel like there's so much traffic of neighbors, and if a lot of people do their, like, I'm cleaning out my closet this week and I'm doing it over the weekend, and they want to schedule, as opposed to scheduling a pickup, they could actually physically go or arrange, you know, something.
Can I answer that question? Sure. It's a great question, and I'm very much involved with my community board on these issues. Years ago, I was a member of Community Board 7. We don't go so far into the street fairs because the cost of a booth there, plus $600 or greater, we would never recoup that kind of money.
So they
we're
wouldn't
talking
give.
about small street fairs,
Yeah.
local, where generally in our neighborhood we ask.
I would imagine they would give it
we
to you
ask
for free.
that they give a free booth. We ask to each street fair that they give free booth to nonprofit.
Well, we cover that. We could do it. We could do that, but we are currently working with Green Markets and Grow New York in the vegetable markets. We feel that, you know, from the sustainability point of view, that's how we got into this business, from the veterans side of this. That we have a lot of veterans. They are, as Deborah mentioned in her opening comment, we've protected the country. Now we have to help save it through recycling. We're trying to get that mindset, not only in the older veterans community, but in the young veterans who are coming in. And the idea that we're in the food areas makes sense for us, because we think that people are more in tune in those spaces to bring something to recycle, as opposed to going to a street fair where they're going to buy something and take it away. But we can change.
If you go to, the answer is yes, we've looked into it. And it's something that we can entertain. It requires manpower and volunteers. and marketing.
But as opposed to doing I'm just thinking like as opposed to scheduling one-on-one pickups, if you had like, if people knew that there was a Saturday
So here's
where,
a perfect example. You're absolutely correct, and we've gone down that road numerous times. If you take a look at the community engagement page, you'll see a perfect doorstep of all the stuff we pick up. So instead of schlepping a bag, down the corner and around the street, when you start doing the cleaning out process, it becomes more than one bag. So we find that coming to you as a white glove kind of concierge kind of pickup service gives us more to then put through our process. And, more donations, the more monies that go to all the programs.
got it.
Another question?
So then Mario can speak to where all the proceeds go.
It's a good program.
Thank you. So what you'll see in your packet is as simple as if you want to do it in, your building, you can find, people can find this on our website and our Facebook page and so forth. You just, set it up. People can run their own drives as well and say, hey, let's do it on our floor, let's do it in our building, put this up, and most of the doormans do know about it.
You have that online?
Yes.
Can you email it to me
Absolutely.
so I can blast it to my community?
That's what I actually had asked Morris for, if I could have everyone's email,
Yes,
I could
we'll
give you the
arrange that.
packet.
We'll arrange that.
Perfect,
Absolutely.
thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
And that's, and that's one thing that we definitely need from the Borough President's office, from the community boards. We need you to spread the word. We need you to help us. A lot of what we take in, we lose to direct mail, or to the little bit that we can spend on marketing. So that the more that the community can get behind us, the more that can help support us and get the word out. The less financial burden it is on us, and more money is going to the veterans programs, which I'm about to talk about.
We could put it on our website. We get thousands of people.
Thank you.
I mean, not on our website. We could even do a mail. Do you have a cheat sheet? Do you have a one sheet that says it all that I put on my website?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It looks like this.
Great.
Do you have specific days when you're in different communities?
Yes,
Because if
we
you
have
give-
it zoned,
If you give
absolutely.
us that will be helpful too. People could just basically look at that, read it, and
Yep, we do have
contact you.
that.
Great, thank you.
And Matthew has a question.
Yeah, not so much of a question, and certainly Mario and Vince, you guys might talk and Deb, I think the world of you guys. You probably don't need to say anything more. I think the program really speaks for itself, and just to let everyone else know, this is one of the greatest programs that our city is fortunate to have, and so I thank all of you for the work that you do. We've been working with them for some time. Through my company, we have commercial and residential properties, and the ability to help our material get to their facilities, so that it can be sold or it can really be utilized to help these veterans is really amazing. Their facility or their space a few blocks north of here has veterans working in it. It's just the most incredible program, and with their help, New York City's diversion rates are about 14% recycling diversion rates. With the help of the United War Veterans, in our buildings, we achieve about an 82% diversion rate because we're able to get so much material through them. They've collected so many things that have been useful, and it's just really an amazing program. Everyone should do it. Certainly going to street fairs is helpful, but reaching out, they work well with property managers, with supers, and can organize a day for your building. For me, I'm lazy, I don't like to carry things to the corner fair, but if I can bring it to my lobby and drop something off, they can organize that. Friday is drop your stuff off day in the lobby. You can drop it off in the lobby. They'll come pick it up. They'll take it out. It'll be gone by the time you get back from work. Really incredible service. Really incredible people who are working on it and serving just really amazing individuals. So
He's saying you like it.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
I'm bringing him with me to the next presentation.
Everyone should absolutely do it. It's a phenomenal program.
And the fact is last year, New York residents, they threw away almost 200,000 tons of textile in 1 year. So as much as we're doing, there's still so much out there. And like we said, it benefits the community, it benefits the environment, and it benefits veterans. And like you said, I think we've sold the program, but I just want to tell you a little bit more about how vital this is. like Deborah said, there's a little over 200,000 veterans in the city that we know of. Nearly 40,000 of those are here in this borough, in Manhattan. Okay, in a April 2013 article by Crane's New York Business, they did a study, and they're estimating that over the next 5 years, another 44,000 veterans are going to be coming back to New York. Okay, we're going to have programs in place to get these veterans their benefits, resources, counseling. And why? Well, one, because they earned it, and it's owed to them. But more importantly to that, by getting these veterans the benefits that they need, the resources they need, you're giving them the best chance available to become a value add to this community. They've been a value add to the government and the military. They've learned how to be a leader. They've learned how to contribute, and now they want to come do that here in New York City. And by getting them their benefits, getting them in school, getting them jobs, getting them the mental health counseling that they need, it's going to give them the best opportunity to do that. And that then the programs that we are developing are doing all those things. But the fact of the matter is these things cost money. One of the programs that we were working on has been the New York State Division of Veterans Affairs in the Governor's Office has taken notice, and we've been working with them and combining what we're doing with their already developed Strike Force program, which is, if you don't know anything about the VA backlog, we have thousands of veterans that have severe disabilities that need to get their benefit packages approved, and it's just not happening. And so we're working with the state to get a program together that's going to specifically attack the backlog here in New York State and in the city. As well as consulting with the state on this, we're also going to be funding it, because unfortunately, for a reason that I don't know, that's above my pay grade, is that there's no room in the budget for it. And so we're going to take it upon ourselves to pay for it. The estimated cost for 1 year for running this program is around $2.5 million. Okay, where we're going to get the money to pay for this program is from this recycling, the recycling program that we're operating. And so you can see now how vitally important that it is that we get the word out and that we maximize our returns on this program, because we need to be able to take care of our veterans when they come home, because they are going to be an enormous value add to this city, to your communities, and if we don't, they're going to be stuck in bureaucratic limbo, and it's not going to be good.
You need to rework this. I mean, when I say that, you need to say just what you said, the importance of why this is important to help those veterans who are out here and not getting the help. You need to get that out to the people, okay?
Yeah,
that's really important.
And we'll be sending it all to everyone's emails, and we really do appreciate you sending it out. I was very interested in the NYC.com conversation and the presenters just before us. We'll definitely be hooking into that. That will save us a lot of money. The direct mail in New York City, if you've ever been involved with any sort of direct mail, is just sucking all the life out of us. I mean, we're such a dense city that the only way we can really move this thing forward and tilt that balance between the kind of money that we need in order to resolve all these issues is to get rid of the costs, because we're already doing, as Deborah pointed out, 100 tons a month. We want to expand it. We want to bring the veterans community into the green community. These are young, energetic individuals. They should be part of the process of healing the city going forward. They're disciplined, they're strong, they're smart, they're used to working long hours on little sleep for little compensation. They'll do well in the New York City workforce. We just, you know what we speak of here? But we have to keep them here. And that was the impetus that my board at the United War Veterans Council directed me 8 years ago to start putting this together. And we've done a good job bringing it up to this level, and we would appreciate going forward as much help from the communities as we could possibly get. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Are there any questions?
Vince, just one more thing, if I can add. Just about, can you talk a little bit about a
C-19?
Yeah, 501c19. Just because it's incredible. It's an organization that has to be made up of veterans, and I think 97% of the organization are veterans.
Yes.
Family members of veterans, and so these are people who have been there. Vince himself, a veteran of Vietnam, but really people who believe in what they do and are supporting one another. It's just great. And a plug for Aldrin. Aldrin would want me to let you know that Vince is a part of the Solid Waste Advisory Board, and everybody should join the Solid Waste Advisory Board, and we get to hang out with Vince every month.
And we're going to make New York City a better place because of everybody's energy. But it's a good point, and I appreciate you bringing it up, Matt. I'll just be very quick. We are a C-19. One of the reasons it's taken us 8 years to get this far is because the city, in its wisdom, recognizes non-for-profits, but they're all in the genre of C3s. So when we came forward with a C-19, the legal departments of all the different agencies really didn't know what to do with us. We have to be run, owned, controlled, and membered by veterans. This cannot be owned by outside entities. So we chose that route. It's a bit more arduous. We have more hoops and whistles to go through, but we felt it was important because of the potential for it and for the funding that it can accomplish for the needs of the veterans community to have the veterans community keep charge of it going forward. And we're a very diverse group, as we all know, in the military. We have everybody, thanks to the president. Now, we don't discriminate on any level, and that's a big deal when you look at it from a national perspective. So it's taken us a while to educate the city on the C-19 status. We're still having a couple of problems with it when we get the tickets that Deborah was talking about. Everyone looks at us like, so what is a C-19? And then we go through our
details are in the package.
The details are in the package. But it's aside from the good works of helping get the city greener at no cost to the taxpayer and using the proceeds without burdening the city to pay for it, to put those services online. We're also educating the city as to what goes on in the veteran space. We all want to avoid what we saw in the 70s with what happened after Vietnam, and everybody came home and nobody was ready. So we are in the business of being ready for what's coming down the pike. So thank you very much for your time.
I just also want to point out that Gail did speak to Debbie at the hand swab fundraiser in May, and she assigned our deputy general counsel Del Bartlett to help work on the ticket.
Yeah, so I've been working with his
so hopefully we'll be able to be helpful with that, and that a little bit more subdued than Matthew Washington, but Gail loves this program. I mean, he got on the agenda. She kept speaking. She said, "Remember, tell them that Vince has a direct line to the president of the United States." And in terms of the acts that we're usually comfortable with when hearing, in terms of the acts either before the city council or the board, in terms of funding to the taxpayer, they are not asking taxpayers for money. Like that's not the ask. The ask is to help them with the promotions, the marketing, so that they can have an economy of scale, so they can be able to recruit the value of the recyclables and the reusables to be able to feed this very innovative social business model. And it's something that we're incredibly, and I mean, the story is remarkable. In 8 years, from like 1 truck to 51 trucks or 53 trucks, the fact that it's a white glove concierge service for very lazy New Yorkers who maybe don't want to, and garbage is something unfortunately people don't want to think about. And this notion that there's money in it, and that this kind of value can recoup to serve veterans in all these different needs in a sustainable way. So it's not only sustaining the environment, but it's sustaining veteran programming so they can be autonomous and continuous and not have to worry about the ups and downs that many people face in these different budgeting seasons.
And just to reiterate, when we say serving veterans, we do mean serving veterans, but by serving veterans, we are serving the community. We're putting money back into your community. We're giving them the ability to learn the skills to become a serious value add for New York City. So serving veterans, serving the environment, serving the community.
Great.
I think it's a great program.
Great. Thank you very much.
Our final presentation is on legislation currently in the City Council called the Stop Credit Discrimination in Employment Act. Joby Doyello from the NYC Coalition to Stop Credit Checks in Employment.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today about this issue. My name is Jovi Boilo. I'm a campaigns organizer at New Economy Project. We're an economic justice center that works with community groups to promote a new economy that works for all New Yorkers. And we used to be known as NEDAP, been around for 20 years, so I'll just mention that in case any of you are familiar with NEDAP. And I'm here today with Amy Traub, who's Senior Policy Analyst at DEMOS. And both of our organizations are part of a citywide coalition. The packets that I passed around, if you didn't get one, there's a bunch extra on a chair in back there. It has a lot of information about our coalition, and we're made up of 58 community and labor organizations, direct service providers, 15 student organizations around the city, and we came together to form this coalition around this issue of employers using credit history as a tool for screening job applicants, but also as a tool for making other employment-related decisions, such as promotions and firing and just employment-related decisions. And we find that this practice is very problematic, and so that's why we got together to form this coalition, because when we realized that the city had jurisdiction to ban this practice, we coalesced around this bill in the City Council, the Stop Credit Discrimination in Employment Act, which was introduced by council members Brad Lander and Debbie Rose. It was first introduced in 2012. It was reintroduced in April of this year. And there's a copy of the bill in the packets. And the reason we're here today is a big part of what we want to do is educate folks about this issue, because sometimes it's an issue that happens in the background. Like, people may be getting denied jobs because of their credit and they may have no idea. So we want to spread the word, but we're also hoping that we can get your support in the form of community board resolutions. And so there's a draft resolution on the left side of your packets. And I'm going to hand it over to Amy, who's going to take us through what the resolution says.
Yeah. Hi. Joby mentioned that I work with DEMOS. I'm a senior policy analyst. For folks who don't know DEMOS, we're a public policy organization working for an America where we all have an equal voice in our democracy and an equal chance in our economy. And this fits in very well with having an equal chance in our economy. We're a national organization, but our main office is here in New York City. The rationale for this bill really is spelled out in the proposed resolution that you have in your packet. The core problem is that New Yorkers are being excluded from employment opportunities due to this really irrelevant factor, which is their personal credit history, their history of paying bills on time, how many debts they have. National studies show that about half of employers nationwide check personal credit history of people applying for jobs when they're hiring for a wide range of positions. Often you think, okay, well, it's the CEO of an organization. It's not the CEO. I mean, it may be the CEO of an organization, but it's also for a lot of retail jobs, for home health aides, dog walkers, insurance agents. It's a range of positions up and down the pay spectrum and responsibility spectrum. And of course, employers are checking credit history for a reason when they're hiring. They may use that information and do use that information regularly to deny jobs to applicants that don't have perfect credit. The challenge here really is that personal credit reports were never designed to assess somebody's job performance or their character. This is how they're marketed by the companies selling credit reports. Oh, look at somebody's credit history. You'll be able to tell if they're a good employee. If they haven't paid a bill on time, it's probably because they're an irresponsible person you wouldn't want to hire. That's the implicit line. The challenge is that when this has actually been studied, the social science research has shown that information contained in a personal credit report has no correlation to job performance or to somebody's propensity to commit crimes. So again, they say, well, if somebody has a lot of debts, they may steal from you. Well, no employer wants to hire somebody who's going to steal from their company. The fact is that having a lot of debt is not a predictor of committing theft. It doesn't say something about someone's honesty. and may say something about the difficult times they've been going through, like a lot of New Yorkers in this city. What other research has found, including Demos' own research, is that checking credit history as part of the hiring process can actually have a discriminatory impact on job applicants of color, particularly African American and Latino job applicants. And one reason for that is that credit histories have been impacted by predatory lending, loans that targeted certain communities. Of course, not only are you then at risk of foreclosure, you're also at risk of having your credit history damaged for a very long time. In addition, discrimination in employment, in lending, and in education are all factors that can lead to somebody having worse credit, and communities that have suffered that type of discrimination, people do tend to then have worse credit as a result. And this is a reason why civil rights organizations, including the NAACP, as well as the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the National Council of La Raza, and the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights have opposed the use of credit checks in employment, and the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, has also issued guidance recommending against the practice. There's also an issue with survivors of domestic violence, and studies looking at domestic violence cases find that it's very common for abusers to take out credit cards in the victim's name without their knowledge, or do other things that ruin their credit history. And then you think of somebody finally breaking out of this abusive situation, trying to establish themselves independently and get back on their feet. Suddenly their employer, they're trying to get a job, and the prospective employer says, well, I pulled your credit report, and look at this, what an irresponsible person you are. One of the challenges is that people may not even know when their credit is a reason that that they're not getting a job. And if they are told, which actually it's the law, but it's a very difficult law to enforce, and a lot of employers may not even realize what their obligations are under the law. So then you're trying to get a job and you're being forced to talk about this abusive situation, which is really a violation of privacy. A final issue I want to underscore is errors in credit reports. The Federal Trade Commission recently did a comprehensive study and found that 1 in 5 American consumers has a material error that's a more serious error, not just a misspelling of your address, on their credit report from one of the 5 major credit reporting companies. And these errors are very difficult to resolve. There's been a lot of press, media discussion of the challenges facing people who are trying to get errors removed from their credit reports. I want to particularly underscore a challenge, which is that people who are out of work are also likely to have worse credit, right? You may have difficulty paying your bills if you've been out of work for some time. That creates a really awful catch-22 in which you can't get a job then because your credit is bad, but of course you can't repair your credit because you don't have the income to do that. A final thing I want to mention is that there's a bill introduced in Congress and the U.S. Senate by Senator Elizabeth Warren that's very similar to this bill. Unfortunately, it's not moving quickly in the Senate. Very little is. And in the meantime, New York City can really take action and be an example for the country.
Can you just summarize what the bill does?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Joey, you want to do that?
Yeah, so it's very simple. It's a simple solution. The bill makes it unlawful and discriminatory for employers to request credit information or to use it for any employment-related purposes. That's it in a nutshell.
Questions?
I don't know if this is the setting because you threw a reso on the table, so I'm reviewing the reso. I think that there should be therefore be a resolve asking that these credit companies kind of configure a transformer to assure that they are doing appropriate data collecting. Because according to this information here, there's errors in the credit report, so that means whoever's collecting the information may not be double checking the work that they're putting in the system. So I think there also should be a mandate to acquire supervision or something that can track that the appropriate information is being put. Because while you may fight that employers not to do this, this process will still continue on different levels. Now, so they're going to still do business as usual, and if they're going to do that, at least do it with accuracy. and more professionalism, because you're dealing with people's lives, and that information is being put into a system that's not going to go away. So I think that there should be a push to ensure that the data is accurate.
Yeah. I think that'd be separate legislation, probably.
Yeah, well, because you're throwing it around.
Go ahead, next.
So proceed, I'm sorry, Emma.
Yep, no, I wasn't.
So procedurally then, for this group, will we vote on this next month, or how will we deal with this?
The ask was for your community boards to take this back and look at the resolution and possibly
If there's time,
do individual.
if there's time for you to meet with your, and I know some of you need to meet with the full board, some of you meet with the executive committee, and if you feel that you've had enough time to get this through the process that you need, we can probably take it up in a borough board vote in July, if that's something you guys, that would be helpful to you. I mean, I'm asking, is it? Do you feel that's sufficient?
So the problem is, we don't have a full
We don't
board
have a
meeting
full board
between
meeting.
now and the July.
Yeah, end of July is the next full board.
So then, and we don't meet in August, so it would be September, so I don't know what your time frame is.
Yeah, and we don't meet in July and August.
Right, so I need in August.
So this is before the city council, before?
It's before the city council.
Nah.
Right now, it has 37 bills
So
sponsored.
he's explaining when this is coming up?
Hold on, everyone, one
Suggestion?
And the council, you were saying?
It's in the council now. It has overwhelming support with 37 sponsors, and so there could be a hearing as soon as this summer, if not in the fall. And if there isn't a hearing this year, I would be very surprised.
Okay.
So board resolution in September still may be of help?
It may be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best practice, shoot for September.
Yeah, because I think even if there's a hearing in the summer, a committee vote and then the full council vote might not happen until the fall.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that just, I work with young people, and I think young people are also a very susceptible target, especially with student loans and having low. We know a lot of young people now don't have great skills around financial literacy, and so I think that this issue has been raised by young people a lot, and you guys have been doing some great work around that and have youth support, and so I just wanted to point out that in the resolution, I think when I bring it to my committee, we might kind of think about adding something in there as well.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Matthew, I see your hand.
Yep. What happened with the 2012 bill?
So similarly, it had overwhelming support amongst council members. It had a hearing in the Civil Rights Committee, and then it just didn't move. I think basically it didn't rise to the level of priority for the speaker to bring it forward for a vote.
Is the speaker currently supporting the bill? Is she one of them?
She was a sponsor last year. We met with her office, and they told us that she basically doesn't put her name on bills early on until... I got the impression that she's still deciding what she's going to support overall. But she was a supporter last year, so we hope she'll be supported.
Any other questions? Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks again for the opportunity.
Will an electric copy of the resolution Dave provided you be helpful?
Yes.
Okay, if you could send that to me, I'll send that around to everybody.
There's a lot of background information on the coalition's website, creditcatch22.org. Is that in there?
Yeah, it's in a lot of
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of background.
October 2?
Okay, let's go to council member and... Sure. Jessica's going to do our borough president report.
Okay, very, very quickly. I know it's been a long meeting, so I'm just going to do a very, very quick report. We are focused right now on summer meals for our kids. And as all of you know, that every summer there's a summer meals program for kids to usually eat lunch or breakfast during at school during the year. And it's available during the summer, but not a lot of people take advantage of it. And the number one reason is because kids don't know when and where to go. And unfortunately, the Office of School Food isn't really great about getting that information out in a very timely way. This year, though, with a little pressure, they did release the sites where there will be free summer meals, but there's still an issue of can we reach kids while they're still in school, because once school is out, it's much harder to reach kids. So we are having a Blitz Day this Friday. We're going to our attempt is to be at every single elementary school in Manhattan. because most parents drop their kids off in elementary school. And we have flyers, and we'll have English and Spanish, and they list every single site by school district or by area of the city, because some districts are really big, where free school, free lunches will be available, breakfast and lunches. So if anybody is interested, we'll have flyers just for you to have, in general, and we'll have those available very soon. We'll be emailing them to you, and then if you want hard copies, we can get you those as well. But if anybody is interested or know someone who might be interested, this Friday we are going to have people at every school. We have a few slots still open, so please join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then afterwards, for people who don't have to immediately get to work, we're going to just have a breakfast back here for anyone who helped us do that. So I hope you can join us or at least spread the word.
Great. Any questions?
I just wanted to add.
Have the CECs of each district been involved in this?
We've been talking to our CEC representatives on each of the CECs, so they know about it, and some of them will be helping. There's a big push this year for District 5 in Manhattan. They've targeted 3 districts in the city, 5 in Manhattan, so we have been working with the CEC.
Add 6 too, right?
Well, we're working with everybody,
okay.
The city is targeting 5, but we're targeting everybody, because there's hungry kids everywhere. So.
Thank you very much.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, let's go to council member reports. Any council members?
Good, thank you.
That's my report. No,
Seaport Working Group.
Seaport Working Group unrolled their guidelines and principles on June 2nd, and it was really well attended. We had 535 responses like that evening. There were at least 250 people there. We had another 123 responses that were submitted via an online survey, which is a really, really good, robust response, so we were very happy about that. The budget is our sort of main June objective, of course. Councilmember Chin vigorously negotiating with her co-chair and the other members of the delegation. I can't say anything specific, of course, but it's looking up, so we're very happy about that. And the final thing is, this is actually my last borough board for Councilmember Chin. I'm moving to Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito's Economic and Community Development Division. So I hope to work with everybody in a different capacity soon. That's my update.
Okay. That's the new unit, right, Matt?
Sure, yes, we're going to be working with council members across the city on projects that are going to be things that maybe they've been hoping to achieve, have been in conversation about, but the city hasn't had time necessarily to dedicate resources to it. We hope to move those agendas forward significantly so that the city can at some point take over if need be, or we can finish it for the member through independent action. So
okay,
it's going to be very exciting.
Good luck to you.
Congrats, Matt.
I want to give you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
And Matt was an intern at Community Board 1 years ago.
Sorry. Oh yes, and I was a Community Board 1 fellow. Everything starts downtown.
That is untrue.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, my name is Max Cantero. I'm with the City Council Speaker's
You mind
Office.
coming over to the table?
Yeah.
We don't, buddy. All right.
How are you guys? I'm the Director of Community Affairs for the City Speaker's Office. A few updates. We just finished having our Senior Youth Fair. It was well attended, even on a rainy day. I believe we had a little over 300 seniors, and we're going to have our Bronx Senior Festival June 26th at St. Mary's Park. In addition to that, we're going to have our Bronx Youth Fair July 30th, our 8th annual Step Up, Speak Out, Take Action Youth Fair for East Harlem, and we're looking to open our district office in the Bronx within this month. Hopefully early next week we can have it staffed. That's it, Charles.
Great,
I'm sorry, could you just repeat your name and your title for the office?
Sorry, Max Cantorero, and I'm the Director of Community Affairs.
Is there a number we can reach you?
Yeah, 212-828-9800.
9800. Extension or it's
It's
just
Max works out of the district office.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Any other council members? Okay, we'll go to the community board reports. I have one request for
Yes.
somebody to skip ahead if folks don't mind.
If the first few boards don't mind, I have to run for a couple of minutes, so I'll be real quick. I just wanted to mention two kind of important things. I think that the borough president has been invited to a June 25th meeting with some of the local electeds regarding the sanitation proposal for the East 25th Street garage. I hope that's the case, because I was not invited, so I actually don't know who's on the list. But they're, oh good, thank you. And I think, I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that I think they're planning on going to the Public Design Commission probably this summer, sometime after that meeting, maybe July, and they're expecting ULURP certification early September-ish, so that would probably mean
For the waste transfer station?
It's not for the waste transfer, for the sanitation garage for board 6, 8, and part of 3, the rolling trucks, the fleet.
Yeah, no, we just
would
got
actually
it.
be stored
We just
there.
got it very good.
Yeah. So I probably will be coming before the borough board around November-ish. Just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that. And I want to kind of brief plug for something. We have, I think it's the 3rd annual, there's free kayaking on the East River. It's actually going to be taking place 3 separate dates, June 28th, July 27th, and August 10th in the afternoon. There will be, it's actually at Stuyvesant Cove Park, so if anyone's interested in coming, I'll try to circulate some actual details and RSVP and contact information, but that's it.
Great.
So, thank you.
Could you send us some details?
Absolutely, I will send everyone some details on how to join the kayaking. I won't be there on the 28th, but I'll try to join one of the other ones. So hopefully I'll see you.
28th, July
June,
27th.
June 28th, July 27th, and August 10th. 2:30. I'll send the details. Thank you. Thank you so much.
CB1?
Yes, it's been another amazing month, very busy. Last night at the executive committee, we had our annual update from the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation, and there were 2 bits of information that I want to make sure you're aware of. They have over $12.3 million for affordable housing from 9/11. I know that's a major priority for everyone here. There's also $1 million left over for grants for small businesses suffering during the construction from 9/11 as well, because I know both small businesses are very important to everyone here. Which also then brings us to one of the items that LMVC has been working, which is the West Thames Strait Bridge. We need to make sure that it keeps staying on track, because there is some funding in place from LMDC, and a group of financial district moms are very concerned about the safety of their children walking to school, which is in Battery Park City, because there's no crossing guards down there, and they're not allowed to ride the school bus, even though it's mostly empty. The next highlight is we're still working with anybody and everyone from all the city agencies, and any elected official will help us on mitigating the pedestrian vehicular flow after the fences have come down around the memorial, which is something we've been advocating for. And there's a special meeting tonight that I encourage anybody who's interested to come. We have multiple agencies coming, and I know we'll have concerned residents. It will be at Charlotte's Place. And we continue to be concerned with the double-decker tour buses, particularly the ones that are empty, and the vendors, as well as the food carts. We had an amazing presentation on this at the district cabinet meeting this week. The next area is the green market. We're hoping that Grow NYC will go at the Albany Street location, which was the queuing line for the former memorial. We're very concerned that it's not turned over into a parking lot or a staging ground for construction in the area. And there are 3 beautiful trees, and since I know you all are working with Grow NYC, we have been working with LMBC, Downtown Alliance, Grow NYC, would love to add you as well. And now we have also engaged the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council. They do not have any funding, but maybe there'll be something in terms of activating that space. And also the public block there, they may be taking it apart, so there might be some street furniture to put over there. And then we're also working now with Jesse from the Borough President's Office to get Fisher Brothers and the Wyckoff Group, who are the developers of 101 Murray Street. We seem to read about a lot of these big developments in the news. They have been not able to come to a community board meeting, and now this is that huge site between Greenwich and West Street in Tribeca, formerly, for the St. John's University. They might be able to come in September, but it's June. Would really like to have something in place a lot sooner, so we can find out the details. And the last thing is the helicopter update. I know that there was a big meeting at the mayor's office. The one heliport for all of Manhattan, other ones is really in Community Board 1 at Pier 11. It continues to be a problem. There can be at least 8 helicopters taking off or landing at the same time. We're concerned about safety, and it's also a huge quality of life issue for the people enjoying the East River Esplanade as well as Governor's Island. And even if you're in some of these buildings working, it's really hard. It's loud. So we're looking forward to getting your help on this issue as well, because I know Community Board 1 was not invited to that meeting at the mayor's office.
There was a meeting at the mayor's office that was elected.
On June 6th.
That was elected officials, that was spearheaded by Congressmember Jerry Nadler. And basically the request to the mayor's office was to actually ban tourist helicopters, just the tourist helicopters in Manhattan that leave from the heliport. And we followed up with a letter. It's a business that really doesn't make a lot of money for the city. It's a huge quality of life issue. It's also a huge safety issue because it's so incredibly unregulated, the tourist helicopters. So there's been a request both at the in-person meeting and then with a follow-up letter to the mayor's office to just ban tourist helicopters in Manhattan. So we're going to see where it goes.
Right, and Community Board 1 is on the record. We have a resolution in 2009 and 2011 expressing our concerns about this issue.
So it's more of a statement. I don't want nobody to take this disrespectful. I'm a little concerned, and I quite often hear that many meetings are taking place and they don't include the community.
Yes, I want to concur.
I myself am being faced with matters in my district where it's important. I think that if we work hard, we drip sweat and blood out of our bodies to serve our communities. And I think when those issues take place, either one of us or a representative should be in the room, because at the end, they want a resolution from the board. But then
this was organized by the mayor's office. This one was at City Hall.
I know that. I'm just saying that we play, in general, key role in the voice of the people of our community.
None of that, we're part of the government.
Yeah, and I think we're local government agencies, right? And we're supposed to be, as they call unofficial, non-paid elected official, whatever the term is.
Was your office at the meeting?
Trying to say
we were
that.
attended. This is the mayor's office called the meeting at the request of Congressman Jerry Nadler, and he invited me elected.
Seems
so
to be
if you're right,
spreading
you
out
should,
all
so let me
around.
know.
That's all.
If our meetings are.
Oh, and Gigi Lee unfortunately had a meeting to go to. She wanted to make sure that we got the information that you emailed around the credit presentation, and that possibly someone could come to the different community boards would be really helpful. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in if you're done. And I always like to follow you because I never have as much to say. We're getting a new school. We've moved it very far down the line now. And we are working for all those who have schools very well with Lorraine Grillo and the SCA. We are seemingly a team pulling in the same direction an all-time first for New York City schools. But we're getting a school. We're going to be drawing from boards 4, from boards 5. Are you in District 2 at all?
No, actually, no, not.
No, I know. But it covers a lot of community boards. District 2. It's going to be 1,000-person middle school, state of the art. I mean, really state of the art. But we still have a lot of things, a lot of interesting things. We really are working with SCA to get what we think is going to be a model school and a model relationship working with the government. Okay. I just want to say, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, air right transfers and affordable housing. So I just want to say one thing. We're getting, my board, I have 7 bids in my board. I think I have the largest bid number of any board in the city. And I am trying to meet with the new SBS chair, who seems to be avoiding me. That won't happen much longer, trust me. But I think bids are obsolete as they're structured now, and I want all the community boards to listen to what I have to say. When they were established to help business core areas you know, and help them regenerate downtown areas. But now there's residences woven through community boards, and they're no longer legitimate as a business advocacy group, which is what they are. And they're hardly small business. I mean, they're like dominated by very large landlords and, you know, real moneyed interest. And so I'm trying to have the city council sponsor some legislation and pass it over to the state that has to change its stuff to make a bid more of an area improvement district that really takes into the account. I mean, you know, Jensen knows what I'm talking about. We sit on the same board, which is the meatpacking, small business meatpacking bid. But all of my colleagues, I think, throughout the city should understand that when the next bid hits you, they're not going to try to put the residents in the picture, and it's really terrible because residents like Wisteria have grown around. There's no more just plain business districts.
Mixed use. Everything is mixed use.
What's
So
that?
everything is mixed use.
That's
So
right.
it doesn't work anymore. Right.
No,
And
no,
so
it's
we don't have.
way beyond they have
You
representatives
gotta
on the bids.
assess
We have lots of representatives on the bids, but they want them not running. But what they do is they really see themselves. Hey, we're paying the freight, and you know it's our business, and we'll do this, we'll do that, and there's millions of dollars involved. And bids are very powerful once they're established. You know, I mean, the Union Square bid is a real powerhouse, and so will this new meatpacking district. And if you have one in your area, you know that sometimes they can control an area. They're almost like a small city-state community board of their own right. So I just want to say that we need to think about lobbying and getting new legislation to change the nature of the way bids are formed.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And when I run for the state senate,
Or David, you can move
No,
to
but
East
that's a
Harlem where we
good-
don't have any bid.
That's really a good
Is that true?
idea
That
because
is
it's
true.
it's now it has evolved to a point where it's not reflective of the way the land use is,
Right.
and then you have to go through conflict and contortion to make it work. And conflict and contortion are not, I mean, that's what we do all the time, but it's not necessarily
and we have our hands
the right
full.
way, and it becomes a government within the government.
That's right.
So I
It
mean,
really does.
everything
It
you
has
said
taxing.
is so.
Yeah, but bids have taxing
right.
authority,
Yeah.
and so, you know.
Okay.
So
CB4?
Yes. We are preparing an affordable housing plan, so which covers every opportunity for housing, affordable housing that is in our neighborhood, with lots and AMIs and unit, and so to have the general plan. We are working on a major infill in an Aisha property, Harborview, to create a lot of affordable housing. And we had a major meeting on buses on the west of Manhattan with the Port Authority, City Planning, and DOT. And this was initiated by some large developers, which have now discovered that there were buses in the neighborhood. Haha. And then, and what is interesting is that they are trying to push city planning to kind of take ownership of the overall umbrella of the problem, because the problem is so brittle and dispersed. So that's any help you can give us on that would be great. As far as more practical things, I mean, day-to-day stuff, construction is out of control. We have a new development, Brookfield, who is going to renovate an enormous full block building from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. for 2 years. And, it's insane, right? So we really, that issue about after hours permits is really bubbling to the top all the time. And we really don't have a way to deal with that. Not only that, but because right now they are telling us that, and they say in fact DOB prefers that. What do you mean? How do you live with that? And then DOT is also doing milling of the roads at night, and they say we can't do it during the day, even in streets where you could do it on Saturday. Let's assume. So it looks like everyone is organized for a certain way of doing things, and it doesn't fit anymore with the environment.
I want to second that.
And we really need to do something about this. Is not, I mean, there are people living here. This is not like, a manufacturing district. The third problem, Reform Sidewalk Cafe. the more we dig inside Sidewalk Cafe, the more we discover things that don't work. Like recently we discovered that they don't have to put their furniture aside at night. It's not, there was a judgment 3 years ago and nobody has to put their furniture away at night. And that's new news to us. We didn't know that. We thought the rule says you have to do that. So there is a number of things in the Sidewalk Cafe which are all kind of half broken. And I think we need to put a resolution and a bill together which fixes all of those little things and make it very, very clear. So we don't have to have all this discussion again, all over and over again. And then sanitation, I don't know what happened in your neighborhood, but we have observed overflowing garbage everywhere along the streets and the avenues. And apparently there were cuts into the staff.
So this is the garbage pickup problem where there's garbage for hours on the street as the buildings take it out?
No,
or you're saying
this is just the garbage at the corner of the street, which is picked up by the garbage cans which are picked up by the city, and we have like total overflowing. And in talking casually with the workers, they say we don't have enough people. And we are really embarrassed that it is so bad, but we don't have enough people. They have been cut. So I don't know whether in the budget we could restore those cuts because it's really, really bad. Thank you.
CB5?
Want me to go?
CB6? CB7?
Oh, sure. So just a couple things, and I apologize if I have to leave after this, but one big thing that we've been working on, and I think that is relevant to other community boards right now, deals with playgrounds that are used both as playgrounds for public schools and also used as parks if they're run by the Parks Department. We have an issue at a playground that's been percolating for over a year now where a vote is finally going to be taken tonight that has involved the Parks Department. It's also involved the principal of the school. It's also involved a prominent architect, and it's been a very interesting discussion and debate about sort of who's, the whole issue has been safety, and there's been an interest in redesigning the playground. A lot of parents, both from the school and outside the school, feel like it's unsafe, but the question as to how to make it more safe has been up for debate. And
I'm sorry, it's the equipment at the
it's
playground?
it's an old playground that is sort of designed by a prominent designer who designed certain playgrounds in Central Park. So there's Belgian block, there's other things, and kids have been reporting, there have been reports that kids have been, getting ER trips and falling and getting broken bones. The question as to how and whether that's been documented is sort of up for discussion. But there's a whole community of other people who also are parents of children who believe that this is sort of an architectural masterpiece and it needs to be preserved. Paul Freeberg, who designed the Adventure Playground in Central Park. So
Dick Datman did that.
What?
It was Richard Datman who did the.
Oh, okay. Well, he was involved in. It's the same design.
Landscaper, actually.
So in any event, what's happened is the two groups have been very well organized, and it's been a very rancorous debate over the last year. And we've stepped in, can be in the meetings, and I'm curious from other community boards how they've dealt with this. We actually have way too many people at this point. We've heard them speak like 5 or 6 times over the course of the past year. So we've sent around for tonight like very strict guidelines for the committee discussion and vote. And we'll see how it goes, but it's like one of those things that we're not sure how it's going to work.
At NIPER, they used to address safety in playgrounds. So have you considered reaching out to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all that
because they had guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been sort of we're deferring to the Parks Department and to obviously Gail, and it's Gail's money it's going to go to help fund the new design, but. More interesting just from a meeting management standpoint, in fairness to, we have a committee agenda tonight where there are 5 or 6 other items that are critically important to the neighborhood, and as important as this playground is, there are also a lot of other issues that are coming forward on the committee. And we've sort of designed, we've given each side 15 minutes, and then we're going to have questions for, design it so that it's structured in a 60-minute period, which I think is more than generous for that one agenda item. But it's the first time we've actually had to set formal rules for a debate because the sides have been really just at each other's throats for a really long time. So I think it's one of those things where there's not going to, I don't think either side is going to be happy tonight at the end of the meeting, but hopefully it'll be sort of in the best interest of the community, whatever we decide. So that's just been an interesting internal thing that we've been working on. We also have had yet another, selling of a building. This time it's a senior house that was in the papers over this past week, Williams House. It's owned by the Salvation Army. It's being sold to a developer. And again, just points to the increase in luxury housing that's coming into the Upper West Side and how we can deal with that. Again, Borough President's Office and Helen Rosenthal have been really active in that discussion. We have an affordable housing forum that's going to be taking place in September. Next month's meeting, I'll give you the details for that. And then I know somebody mentioned Julie Menon, but I know she's been very interested in wanting to roll out a paid sick leave issue, and she wants to do a day of action on July 16th. And her office reached out to us. I don't know if she's reached out to other community boards about being a part of that, informing businesses in the neighborhood about.
Why is that under her jurisdiction?
I'm sorry?
Why is that under her jurisdiction?
They enforce it.
Yeah, so she asked if, and I don't know if that's something that.
The way that the bill was designed is that Community Affairs is the agency responsible for enforcing it with businesses.
Which is DCR.
Consumer
Affairs.
Yeah.
They don't enforce anything.
Well,
That's how the bill
that's
They don't enforce anything. That would be a new one.
Julie's going to reform it.
At the day of, well, you know, this is huge.
It is a big, yeah.
So they're gonna, and so that there is this big day of action on the 16th. We're going to be involved. I think it'd be great to be involved. It's really just letting both workers and business owners know what the rules are.
Good.
Workers know what
Just
their rights
another
are.
caveat to, we haven't been called and notified about participation.
No, yeah, they had a day in June, and it was very sudden, and so they decided to put it in July. So
it's July 16th. Yeah, all I know, I think they were doing it like they're doing it during the morning rush and the evening rush, and I think they
notified you formally?
I think we had another matter that was going through her office, and I think they brought it up then.
So you should tell her to call other people.
I'm sure she will. I'm bringing it up here just because it's it's something.
I made 2 fundraisers for you.
Well, that's it for me.
TBA.
3 things. Thanks for those of you who sent someone to our vendor. Meeting was actually quite productive. And there's a follow-up. So if you want information on that, just get a hold of our board office. We'll come back to you. But we're continuing to work on that.
You're going to send an email around?
What's that?
Could you send an
Yeah,
email
I'll send
around?
one out. I'll send
Why
it,
don't you
if
do
I can send it to your
right.
office and you circulate
Right.
it, we'll give you kind of a
Like an
wrap-up of
update.
it, minutes and everything like that.
We've been going with it.
Yeah, great, thanks again. Second thing is we passed a resolution requesting that the city put these protection underguards under like buses and large trucks, okay, so that if someone sadly gets hit and that they don't get dragged under the tires, it actually pushes them out, so it could save their life. The third thing we did was we voted to support, there's a measure being put through or possibly being voted in Albany on lowering the speed limit in the city. So what we said essentially in our resolution was we're asking them to authorize the city government to lower the speed limit. So that's how we phrased it. So anyway, that's it. That's all I have to say. I have to leave at 11, guys. I'm sorry about that.
Anybody from CB9? CB10?
All right, CB10, we had our last board meeting last week for the summer, but of course, ECHO Deb and the Land Use Committee will continue working when needed. Our Vision Zero, we created a Vision Zero task force as a mandate from our borough president. Well, not a mandate, but we did create it, and it's incredible. It's been very vigorous. The Department of Transportation has been very helpful. They love our chairperson, Polly Trottenberg, the commissioner, came to the meeting this week, and we laid out all the plans and did all the pasting on. And individuals came from all over, not just Community Board 10, to participate in this. So that was really good. And again, Maria Garcia, who's our chair of our task force, is doing an incredible job. She's just gone over what I would expect someone to do. So I'm really grateful for that. This Saturday, our ECHO Dev committee is having a technology forum at the Harlem Garage, 318 West 118th Street, but I'll make sure we send that out to all of the board chairs today. And we have the governor's technology person, Rachel Holt, H-A-L-T. She will be coming down and speaking, but we have a really good program. And this is all about the Wi-Fi and everything, and don't ask me what any of this stuff is. But I'm going to be learning between now and then. I'm going to just keep, chipping away at this. But the forum, this is our second one, and it's something that's so important. And so we really look forward to that. The last thing is, we passed an AMI resolution this month on our board, and basically we are going to be reaching out to CB 9, 11, and 12 to basically support this resolution and look at the next steps, because I think all of our situations are the same in our community. So we're doing that. And just a small piece, I was reelected, please, no applause, it was crazy, but I was reelected for the next 2 years.
My condolences.
That's what I really wanted. That's what I really wanted. Okay. So that was it.
Thank you. CB11?
Yeah, just very briefly, Henrietta, I'd like to see the information on a more localized AMI and sort of the approach that CB10 has taken. The only thing I want to mention for CB11, our district manager has left Community Board 11. He's going to be working in the Speaker's Economic and Community Development Unit, the one that Matt Vigiano mentioned he'll be moving over to. He'll be joining as a deputy director, so we'll have a good friend and someone who understands community boards well and knows community boards well working in the new unit. Which also means we are looking for a new district manager. I'll send Jessica the job description. I should have done it before, but applications are due June 25th, and so we'll be busy over the next several weeks trying to identify a new district manager for our board.
Did you not send it already? I thought I saw it somewhere.
We did. We blasted it out everywhere.
I
didn't send it direct email, but
I got it.
Great. Circular room. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. Sorry I was late this morning. I need to take my children to school, and then the A train had a derailment, so shifted me all over the place.
Wow.
Just quickly, Community Board 12 held its new board member orientation. I believe it was May 27th, if I'm not mistaken. We have as well assigned all our new board members to their subcommittees. We are actually in a joint discussion 9, 10, and 12 with DOT and the reforming and or traffic flow for 155th Street and St. Nick's Place. However, it came before CB12 and the committee does not feel it's ready to support it due to the fact that they're banning too many left turns, which requires the residents who travel through there to go up I don't know how many blocks, make another left, and then have to come back around. It's insane what DOT wants the residents to do in order for them to reform that. So the discussion is still pending. 9, 10, and 12 are discussing that matter. Another matter I wanted to follow up was on the housing data that was collected. My land use chair and the committee and the executive committee would like to know what's being done with the information that was collected from the Borough President's Office in regards to vacancies throughout New York City for the hopeful creation of affordable housing. So maybe we can get an update on the status of how this material is being utilized.
So we submitted it to the mayor's office and we submitted it to the HPD commissioner's offices. And we're going to continue to work with them as they're looking for project sites. I mean, their focus right now is on the rezoning. So as they're looking for future project sites, that's a list we're going to go back to and tell them, here's sites you can be building.
Okay, and another item is that I invited the GWB, New York, New Jersey Port Authority, and the developer for the GWB project to the executive committee. It's a very nice discussion. They basically informed us that the construction project will be it will carry out until like 2015. Just straight to the point is that Community Board 12 is concerned with employment opportunities for the district. While there is a concern from MWBs and local contractors, that's short term. We have a 14% unemployment rate that's still growing, and we're concerned with not just jobs, but living wage and permanent employment opportunities for the residents in the district. And that's something that's very important. We're supposed to be having a meeting with Tutuparini, the actual developer of the project, to see what we can do to push job fairs and get our local residents in there for employment opportunities. Another something I just want to raise, I don't know if you've seen this morning. I'm a father of 4 children, and we're the chairpersons of our community boards. And this is happening not just in the Bronx where it took place. It saddens my heart to wake up to know that a young adult killed another young adult right out of school. Bullying is at its highest level. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. It's something that's going on drastically in our schools. I think that I was hoping that maybe there can be a joint effort with the Borough President's Office to kind of blitz the communities with educational awareness, but also calling for more mental health-based clinics within schools, as well as more safety agents. You know, I think it's important that our children get the services that they need in school. If you read this article, it's so sad. The bullying that went on and the tormenting, and then I just wonder how many people saw this, noticed it, what action was taken to prevent this young man who was diagnosed with an Axis 1 disability for schizophrenia, and then went off and stabbed it. Sounds like a one time his friend. You know, our board held an anti-youth violence forum just last week or 2 weeks ago in regards to bullying in the schools. The numbers are there. And, it's important that we need to get more funding for our schools. Co-location is a big issue. They're expanding our schools, but they're not providing the resources that are needed to counsel our children. Not every child is coming from a stable home. And you know, when we're children, we can't articulate. We deal with anger. We don't know how to talk to somebody that we're feeling bad or this is going on. And sometimes when we speak, it goes on deaf ears. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But you know what? Sometimes we have to close our mouths and listen to our children. And it's important, I think, that this board here, we can all get the chairs together to run a campaign with the help of the Borough President's Office to target this. Get some. I don't know what's going on with the priorities of the City of New York with the money. The money needs to be directed where the needs are for the communities. And right here, it speaks right here.
I have a question, which is it more happening in the large schools co-location? Because I mean, I don't know anything about it, but it seems to me that those large schools are more, you know, less
I believe that wherever there
it's harder to manage what's happening there.
I believe where there are larger campuses, and they divide schools in 4 and 5 and 6 entities, that neither school communicates with neither school.
Right.
Everyone has their own amount of money that's funded into their schools or their programs, which are taking space in it. But that's another issue. I'm just talking about the spread of resources, and it's very important we can get help with this.
Just going to say one thing. Just looking at that article, there's also an education for parents and neighbors, because it looked like a lot of adults saw this starting, and no one did anything about it. So that's something else that needs to be dealt with.
Just quickly on the, you know, Gail's a huge proponent of mental health services in schools. There's just not enough of them. It's huge, you know, especially, you know, culturally competent mental health services in schools. There was $20 million that was put into the budget under Bloomberg, and we are actively trying to trace that because there was like one mental health clinic that came out of that, and there obviously should have been a lot more, so we're trying to track that money. In addition, trying to generate new money, we have one pilot program that we're working on in East Harlem with Union Settlement, working in some schools to set up mental health services, but it's a huge, huge issue, and we would love to work with you on that.
That would be great. Can you include CB12 in that, please? Just in closing. We've had 3 shootings within the last 3 weeks over in District 12. We've had an attempted rape in the Hanloft playground. I was hoping Mark Levine would be here because I have a scheduled meeting to talk to him about we need more PEP officers and some more cameras within our playgrounds. And that's very important to take a look at that. And we're going to be holding a town hall / public safety forum and inviting the 3-3 to 3-4, the DA's office and the Parks Department to talk about what are we going to do. The crime spree within our parks is out of control. People are getting assaulted. Excuse my French for better sake, for lack of words. You got perverts hanging around the parks. They say that where's the park staff at? Where's the PEP officers? That there's too much of it's this person's responsibility. That person. When to me, it's all of those agencies that deal with safety should be working together to ensure that our children and our elderly and our parents or in general are safe in these playgrounds. So with that, I close.
Thank you, George.
Excuse me, sir.
The form on
Oh, I haven't scheduled the actual date, but I shall be including the Borough President's Office, of course, to participate in this forum. Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thanks, sir. Can you answer any questions?